Not very long ago, I did a video on like a potential tier list for possible DLC characters. The idea is I actually wanted to make my own tier list on Tier List Maker because I thought it was a really fun idea because I've made all these videos about different characters that would potentially have a chance, and I wanted to just kind of say in one definitive video where I think they stand in all of it. The issue is that the tier list I ended up using, while I liked a lot of things about it, it wasn't quite there up to what I wanted it to be. This current tier list that I'm using is actually I don't know why. It's like right after I made my video, then like all these people on Twitter were making their own tier lists using potential DLC characters. I don't know. I didn't know this was becoming a fad or already was a fad. I had no idea about this. So I don't know what the fuck happened with that, but basically I'm going to go ahead and use this new one that a lot of them are using because it has a lot more characters involved. And because of that, I made way more tiers. And the whole reason I did that is because I don't think that my last tier list was really the definitive tier list. I don't think it was as well done as I would have liked it to have been. So I moved some things around, and if I might even move some things around on the fly during this video. So last time I started from the very bottom, but this time I'm going to go ahead and start from the very top because I want to explain why Banjo and Kazooie are all the way up here by themselves, because this might be controversial and might be upsetting to some people. When I say the stars have aligned, the reason why is because for Banjo, this is a character that's demanded by the fans, and everyone knows it, including Microsoft, including Nintendo. We all know they want it to happen. Then when it comes down to moveset potential, it's totally there. And when it comes down to if Nintendo is willing to get them from the company, well, they already have Minecraft on the Switch, and now Cuphead is on the Switch with Ori and the Blind Forest most likely on the way soon. So, I mean, it's really a no-brainer. Like, it actually makes a ton of sense right now. It wouldn't make sense in every timeline. It wouldn't make sense a few years ago to think that Banjo could possibly be in the game, but as of right now, it's actually a real possibility. And I remember when Cloud was announced, people said, this is why you should never give up. And people said, Banjo can happen. Like, the impossible is possible. I tend to agree with that. Now, here's the thing about my opinions on certain characters. I personally won't even be upset even a little bit if Banjo's not in the game. If Banjo's not in the game, I will not be sad at all. I am not even that big of a Banjo and Kazooie fan. I like their game, don't get me wrong, but I have no idea why it's got so much love and support behind it. And I have a few different friends who grew up really enjoying Banjo Kazooie, saying it's one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and it probably is the best one. And these friends don't know each other, so something really clicked for them. They were there at the right moment in time, and I don't think I was. I played Banjo much later, so I was kind of a PS1 kid. So those people don't have very strong opinions on games like Final Fantasy VII or Metal Gear Solid. Some of them do after they come back and play it later, but not all of them have strong opinions on it at that time. But that's what I was into, was Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy, and they were into Banjo. So I'm not even saying Banjo is like I'm just willing him into existence. I'm just looking at the facts here, and I think that everything adds up for him in every way imaginable. Now, my next list, Nintendo loves the parent company, but might not be hype enough. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Tetris block, or the L block, for example, because I feel like it's so crazy it could happen. I feel like it's so insane it could definitely happen. And I think it would be an idea that it'd be similar to the Piranha Plant, where people would say, what the fuck? And then it turns out to be awesome. I think it could definitely happen. Don't ask me what the moveset would be or anything like that, but I think it could. I honestly do think it's a real possibility. But I'm not going to say the stars have aligned or anything like that. Okay, I mean let's face it. It might be way too hard to make a moveset based off this character, and it might be much better off being an assist trophy in the game. Though, I'm not here to say that Tetris has a real chance. I just think that it's so crazy it could possibly work. So I'm putting it up here. But the reality is that it just depends on how crazy Sakurai feels at that moment. I don't necessarily think he's got the best chance ever, and that's why I'm saying, Nintendo loves parent company, but might not be hype enough. So my point of this tier list is that the very top category is what I'm saying you should expect for reals. That's something that I'm betting my money on this one. I'm betting on Banjo and Kazooie. The orange tier, Nintendo loves parent company. These are characters I'm saying, while extremely logically likely, might not be actually happening. Like, for example, the character from the new Fire Emblem game, Three Houses. I don't actually think this character has as much of a chance as a lot of other people seem to think, and that's what I'm saying. Might not be hype enough. Ryu Hayabusa, again, everything makes sense for Ryu to be in the game. Same with Travis Touchdown. And I had them in the same category as Banjo in my last video, and that's really why I wanted to make a new one, because I really don't agree that they are just as likely. I want to say that there is a difference here, and that's why I had to make more tiers and not just put everyone in like the mid tier. There's a big difference this time around. Now let's move down to hype but complicated and messy. I'm not going to explain Sora, Master Chief, Sephiroth, Erdrick, Scorpion, or the Human. These guys are literally basically the same as I had them before. But for those of you who don't want to watch that video, let me just quickly say that basically the title speaks for itself. The title of this tier speaks completely for itself. Basically, Master Chief is too much of a first party thing for Xbox and Microsoft. It might be too much of a close call. I can't say as definitively that it makes as much sense as someone like Ryu Hayabusa. Sora, Sephiroth, and Erdrick are all owned by Square Enix, and in my opinion, while I have a hard time saying which one makes the most sense out of those three, I will say that because they're owned by Square Enix, it's just really unlikely that they'll go back to Square Enix for another character. It seems like Square Enix isn't really that willing to negotiate with Nintendo, but those three characters seem to be hype enough and popular enough, and Nintendo could want to go for them. So it's kind of confusing, and I feel like one of those three still has a small chance, but I think that that's why they're not really up there in the orange with everyone else. I don't want them to be in the second tier. I want them to be lower than second tier. Scorpion, however, is in this category and not in the top one. Same reason why the Human from Undertale is. I don't really know the character's name. Don't at me about that. I don't care. I'm not a huge Undertale fan. And to some people, they might be saying, why would you even have him on here? It's such meme cancer. And the reality is that I don't care if you consider it to be meme cancer. The reality is these games are extremely popular. And again, I don't even like them that much, but they're extremely popular. And the likelihood isn't as low as you might think. I mean, with Nintendo and Undertale, Undertale's on the Switch, and Deltarune Chapter 1 is coming to Switch. It just seems like Nintendo and Toby Fox have some sort of form of a good relationship. I feel like they want to make this work. It's a match they are going for. So to me, I feel like there's no reason to say it's completely out of the ordinary. My only concern is that it seems like they don't really care that much about making indie game characters playable characters. It seems like they would rather have indie game characters just be assist trophies. And I think that, so basically what I'm trying to say is that's why it's a little bit messy. But for Scorpion, as far as Scorpion goes, I actually think he has a great chance. It's just I don't think Nintendo loves Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios. I think that is what gets in Scorpion's way. But you know, Sakurai and Square Enix and Nintendo and all them, they didn't have the best relationship before Cloud being put in Smash. Sakurai had to go out of his way and try to make a connection with Nomura to get Cloud in Smash, and he did. So there's a real possibility that Sakurai could communicate with Ed Boon to get Scorpion. The only other thing that stops Scorpion from possibly being in the game, it has nothing to do with the blood and gore or anything like that. It has everything to do with the fact that it's another fighting game character, which kind of takes away from Ryu and what makes Ryu special. And it could work, but it seems like I don't know if Sakurai wants a bunch of fighting game characters in Smash because the point is that they're not fighting game characters. But damn, a lot of people have always made fan games about Ryu versus Scorpion. It would be really cool to finally have Ryu and Scorpion in the same damn game. It would be amazing. Honestly, to me, I think Scorpion is a dream character. It's something that I probably want more than anyone else on this list besides maybe Master Chief. That's for me personally. But I just don't exactly know for sure. That's why I can't exactly say he's in the top or the second category. To me, I feel like that those two factors are still weighing him down. Next is could work but unlikely pick. Now, I want to say this. I think that 3 of the 4 characters will be like characters I have in this top category, besides maybe Grookey's third form evolution or something like that could also happen. I want to say that. I think that 3 of these 4 DLC characters will be in these top 3 tiers. I definitely think so. I don't so much think that characters in this 4th tier have as much of a chance, but sometimes characters who have less likely of a chance end up getting in anyway, and people really didn't expect it. Now, if you had to ask me, a lot of people said Bayonetta was going to be the base game for Smash for Wii U, and I remember thinking that was ridiculous and that would never happen. Then I played Bayonetta 2, and I played it, you know, it came out the same year as Smash 4, so I played it when I could, and that's when I realized, like, you know, Bayonetta 2 really improved on a lot of things from Bayonetta 1, and so, and also Nintendo had a big influence and role with Bayonetta. So if you had to ask me like what characters had a chance for being in DLC for Smash 4, well we didn't look at it the same way we looked at things now. It was a very different ballpark back then. Like now things are way different. So, but if we looked at it the same way we would now, I probably would have Bayonetta really high up there. But at the time, for a lot of people, I think they thought that Bayonetta was a completely out there choice. For me, Cloud was the only one that was completely out of the realm of possibility that they somehow made happen. So I do think actually one of these characters in this tier actually still has a strong chance. I'm just saying they're all competing with each other, and it makes them a lot more unlikely. And even so, characters in the better choices exist category also still have a chance, but they're just in very, very unlikely compared to the characters in the top 4 tiers. So let's go over this really quick. Dante. Now, on my last tier list, I put all the Capcom characters next to each other and all the Namco characters next to each other and said unlikely pick for Nintendo. This time around, I shortened this tier list a bunch. Again, I don't want to have a giant middle tier. So let's talk about Dante and Solier, Chrono, 2B, Crash, Spyro, Hatsune Miku, who I do believe has a chance, Lara Croft, and Doom Guy. I still put Doom Guy at the end of this list because I really think he is so not going to happen. I really don't think so. But I have to say, he's not down there in the better choices exist category, because if we're talking about shooter characters and choices from Bethesda, he is one of the better ones for sure. So it's not that it's impossible or very, very unlikely, but I'm just saying, well, I do think it's unlikely, but I'm just saying it's not nearly as likely as pretty much everyone else in front of him. So even Lara Croft, I think, has a stronger chance. But again, I think Lara Croft really doesn't have a chance at all. I don't think, it's not that characters with a realistic art style can't work. They can easily make them work. But Lara Croft is just such a boring character. Like, what her moveset and style just doesn't lend itself to Smash very well at all. I know, and again, it's a whole debate for both these two of real guns with bullets. With Tomb Raider, at least you can give Lara Croft a bow and arrow or something, but for the most part, it just seems like such a stupid potential character. It just seems like it would be such a waste. I really don't think either one of these two have any chance at all, but they do kind of work. They do kind of make sense. But again, that's why I said unlikely pick for Nintendo. Um, so, but for as far as Dante goes, again, I think I've made a video about him. I don't think he has the most likelihood of being in the game. I think as far as Capcom characters go, I don't think there's going to be any more Capcom characters in the game either way. But Dante, if they're going to pick another Capcom character, I have Dante right up here at first place. I really think he would make the most sense. Not just because he's a sword fighter. It doesn't even matter. With Dante, he has so many other weapons, and those could be so damn cool to use in Smash. He would fight really similar to how Mega Man fights, except for instead of using a gun to attack, he would use a sword to attack. And then his B specials would be all sorts of crazy moves from different powers and abilities he's gained throughout his adventures. Sort of like how Mega Man fights. So yeah, it could work and it could be cool. As far as a Dark Souls character or anything from the Souls universe, whether it be Sakura characters or even characters from Bloodborne, which is so insanely unlikely because that was a PS4 exclusive. But as far as anything from the Souls universe goes, I just don't think the moveset is there unless they kind of made it potentially somewhat of a joke character. Some people have explained that if they made the character have really, really bad defense, but have a good combo potential, it could work. Sort of like be like even more of a glass cannon compared to Little Mac. I just feel like that situation doesn't work out. I feel like some people could take advantage of Little Mac and make him work, but it just feels like such a waste of a character if you are aiming to do that. I don't see the point. I feel like there's really the best example of that kind of character was Little Mac. And honestly, I always kind of compared the Souls games to Punch Out and in Mega Man because the idea is that there's just patterns and you have to learn the patterns to beat those enemies. So I just don't see how there would be any real point to put the character in and how his playstyle would represent the game he's from. I just feel like it wouldn't work and it wouldn't be that fun. So I don't think they're going to go for it. Thirdly, I have Chrono. Now, I didn't put Chrono in the Better Choices Exist category because I think he actually is a solid, good choice. And I made this before I realized there was a bunch of leaks where people were saying Chrono was in the game. Of course, those leaks, as we're here on Wednesday night with no direct announced, it seems like there is going to be no direct tomorrow, and it seems like Chrono's definitely not going to happen, or at least that leak is completely false. But let's just keep going and keep talking about Chrono here. I still thought at the time that his moveset is just so excellent that it could work. It's just that when you look at all the other Square Enix choices, and especially the three above him, they just make way more sense than him. Right below him is Geno, and honestly, in my opinion, I think Geno even makes more sense than him. So to me, it's just incredibly unlikely they would pick him when there's all these other Square Enix choices out there, and with Square Enix being Square Enix, it's so hard to deal with in the first place. Speaking of Square Enix, 2B is co-owned by Square Enix and Platinum. Now, at least I think it is. Getting Platinum on board shouldn't be hard. Bayonetta's in the game, for crying out loud. But as far as anything else involving 2B, I feel like Square Enix has no problem because 2B is in another Namco game already, being Soul Calibur, and I think just because you're a crossover guest in one game doesn't mean you can't be in another. So I feel like Square Enix would have no issue putting this character in Smash, but it just doesn't seem like the right fit. Her moveset potential is honestly kind of there, but it just doesn't really, it just isn't that much more interesting from a normal sword character anyway. If you look at what she can do in Soul Calibur 6, you can tell that she has some good moves, but it just, in my opinion, it's just not quite all the way there. And considering Bayonetta is kind of censored when her clothes come off in combat, she doesn't get as revealing as she does in her actual games. They did have to censor it somewhat. There's certain ratings in Japan, and when it comes to her design, a big part of her design is when you could see up her skirt. and they would have to do something with that. I guess they would just give her a black void like they do the other female characters with dresses. So it's not like it's impossible to put her in the game, but it's just, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem 100% likely that we'll be getting to be. Even though she's a cool character, she's just a cool character from one game that's popular right now. That doesn't really stand the test of time of gaming. Crash and Spyro are kind of the same way. They're not really popular right now besides the remasters, but they were just kind of popular for a short time period. In my opinion, I don't know why people are so hyped into the idea of characters like Crash and Spyro. I think it's just because of hype for 3D platformers. But Crash and Spyro really did not stand the test of time. They really did not evolve into great franchises. They had their good games that were developed by Naughty Dog and Insomniac Studios, respectively. Those are fantastic studios who have amazing track records, and those studios moved on to Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, which some people would argue are even better than those original games by those companies. And of course, now famously, Insomniac does fucking Spider-Man of all games, and Naughty Dog, of course, does Last of Us and Uncharted. So, I mean, to me, I don't exactly see these two characters getting in. I think it would be cool. It'd be neat. If I had to choose, I'd obviously choose Crash over Spyro, but I just don't see either one really getting in. Hatsune Miku, some people would say this character is completely impossible. I disagree. I think it actually is kind of possible because she does come from games. However, kind of the whole point of Miku is beyond games, and not only that, but her attacks and moveset would be completely like made up by Sakurai. I don't think Miku is impossible to get by any means. They just have to get Sega on board with it, which is not a problem. So, and this is great, amazing promotions. This would be insanely popular. She would be a super popular character that people would love to have in the game. I mean, not just in Japan, but in America as well. So, honestly, I think it's completely feasible. It's just, why would they choose her over everyone in front of her and above her? That's my concern. So, to me, it's just unlikely as hell that we get Miku. But honestly, the funny thing is, I've tweeted about Miku being in the game already. I think it's not even impossible. I think it's actually possible. I also tweeted the other day that if they did a Sora in Smash, if they did get Sora in Smash, Mickey Mouse could be an Echo Fighter because Mickey fights with a Keyblade as well, and theoretically has all the same moves as Sora. So they could honestly put Mickey in as an Echo Fighter, but that would never, never happen in a million years. That's just a joke. Moving on, this category is full of characters that people really want, that all have a great chance in the next Smash game, but none of them really have a good chance this time around. Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, Lloyd's Amiibo or assist or whatever, what's he got? He has a Mii costume. Lloyd's Mii costume was removed. So was all the other third-party Mii costumes, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean Zero from Mega Man X has a chance, or Mega Man X has a chance. Mega Man X is still part of Mega Man's Final Smash, and Zero is an assist trophy now. So it doesn't matter that Heihachi and Lloyd don't have costumes in the game anymore. That was just part of promotional fun DLC, and they just didn't include that DLC this time around. So will Heihachi and Lloyd really be in? I just don't think so. I feel like, again, if they were going to be, then they would be in right now already. One of them would at least be in the base game. So, and honestly, I think Lloyd as an assist trophy would have worked perfectly. I mean, I think he's not that much more popular than Isaac, in my opinion. I know the Tails games are famous, but the funny thing is that if Isaac's an assist trophy, then, Lloyd, just make Lloyd an assist trophy. But the funny thing is that they used Akira from Virtual Fighter as an assist trophy, and not Heihachi. So, it's weird that Akira and Ryu are both in the game, but Heihachi is not in any capacity. So, that is weird to me. And it makes me think Heihachi should be in the game, but the funny thing is that I don't think Heihachi is coming to Smash. I just don't think It's happening. I think if it was happening, then it already would have happened. So moving on to Geno and Monster Hunter and Dixie and Rayman and Porky and Chibi Robo, Rex and Pyra, Rhythm Heaven characters, Mach Rider, the character from Metroid, and the Bull character from F-Zero. Basically, yeah, if they were going to happen, then they would have happened already. For better choices exist, I'm going to go over just a few of them. Uh, so for starters, we have Skull Boy. I almost called him Skull Kid. This is Sans. His name's not actually Skull anything. The reason why I put Sans here is because I really do think that if they do a character from Undertale, it'll be the human character, the main character. It will not be Sans. If they do a Mortal Kombat character, it won't be Sub-Zero, not even as an Echo Fighter. It'll be Scorpion. So in my last tier list, I had Sans and Sub-Zero right up there with Scorpion and the human from Undertale, and I just had to take them both down way because I really don't think they're happening at all. And I think that Scorpion really makes it so Sub-Zero is definitely not happening because Scorpion's the more popular character. He's super iconic. I do plan on making a Scorpion DLC character video later, and I definitely think Scorpion's happening. So, well, I don't think it's definitely happening, but over Sub-Zero, yes. I would be shocked if Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Raiden, Kung Lao, or any other Mortal Kombat character got in over Scorpion. It just doesn't make sense. So, I'm not going to talk too much about this category. If you just take a look, I feel like my choices for why these characters are in this category make sense. I decided to put some of the Namco characters and Capcom characters in here because, well, if any character from Namco or Capcom would be in, it wouldn't be these guys. It would be Dante or Heihachi or possibly Lloyd. It would definitely not be Nightmare from Soul Calibur. It would not be a Resident Evil character. It wouldn't be Phoenix Wright, Beautiful Joe, or Amaterasu. Just wouldn't be. Same with the character from Yakuza. I also had Ryo from Ryo from Shenmue was on the last list I did. Of course they're not going to be in. It's just so not happening. Then we have you from Persona 4. Now I like you, but the idea that they do a second Persona character, what? Of course not. So better choices exist because one of those better choices is actually getting in. uh, Next up is Professor Layton or is it Dr. Layton? It's Professor Layton and this girl from Puyo Puyo that people have actually got mad at me for talking about this character. People have actually got mad at me for mentioning this character and saying better choices exist over her. Sega's not going to put her in. Okay, Nintendo's not going to go. No. Again, maybe for an assist trophy, but no. Next up is So Incredibly Unlikely. I didn't realize I put Minecraft Steve in this list. But the funny thing is that I just think Steve is just not happening. Because again, if he was playable, he would have to move his arms and legs without bending his elbows or knees. I don't think he works well as a fighter. I think that he was possibly designed and then scrapped later. So I have stuff like Terry and the character from Guilty Gear in here. Klonoa, sadly, is in here. Again, I don't want to talk too much about this. I don't want to talk too much about how unlikely a lot of these choices really are. But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that I none of these characters are getting in. Like, none of these characters are getting in. These are just way too unpopular, unlikely. No one wants these characters. Again, like another fighting game character, I really doubt the characters from Guilty Gear or Terry Bogard from the SNK games will get in. The one of the only interesting ones is Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. I just think that Konami got all the representation it's going to get. I don't think they're getting any more. And also, if you're going to do, I don't think people would even want Pyramid Head. I think it's kind of just like a weird call. So I don't think they're going to put anything from Silent Hill in the game. For these first-person shooter characters, two of them are from Valve, but one is by Blizzard. It's not that it's impossible for Tracer to be in Smash, but why would they want a character from this like dated meme first-person shooter game that's not even popular anymore? It just doesn't make any sense why they would choose Tracer from Overwatch. So no, to me, it really doesn't. I don't think Overwatch has been standing the test of time, and I don't think it's going to happen. And then of course the rest of these characters, it's just like why. So no. So these last spots are all the characters who I think basically have literally no chance. The funny thing is that if you look, I actually put if they were going to be in, they would be in already above Better Choices Exist. Mainly because I really do think that characters that were going to be in already honestly have a better chance still than every character below it. I really have no hope at all for those characters. I definitely don't think any one of them, a single one of them will be in the game. When it comes to incredibly unlikely, these are characters that are just not popular in the slightest. It's just not happening. Spirit already included, though. This is the tough one that people don't want to hear or talk about, but everyone here, these are characters that aren't happening. I almost put Chun-Li and Better Choices Exist, but if I put her there, something you have to keep in mind is that better choice was Ryu and Ken. They're already in the game. So the idea that they would even question doing another one, really no. They're definitely not doing another Street Fighter character as DLC. It just doesn't matter. Funky Kong is a character that some people really wanted to be an echo of Donkey Kong. Well, guess what? Not this time. So yeah, all these characters are echoes, and I mean echoes. That would be awesome. No, they're all stickers. They're all spirits. So I just don't see it. I'm not seeing it with a single one of these characters. And lastly, the only one I'm going to explain is Paper Mario. I've made a video about Paper Mario that shared it with Shantae and Isaac. And what I said was, Paper Mario is literally just Mario. That's it. So the idea is that if they put Paper Mario in Smash, it would be like a different Mario from a different dimension. That's not how it works. Paper Mario is actually Mario, but the thing is that it is a different continuity. It's a different canon. But it doesn't matter. Everything he does is based off Mario. Mario from Smash is like if Mario was in a fighting game. Mario in Paper Mario is like if Mario was in an RPG game. So, in my opinion, the idea of making him fight differently because he fights a little differently in his own game, that just doesn't keep to the real theme of what we're talking about here. Of course, do I even have to explain Goku and Bubsy? I actually would love Goku, and if they're going to choose a single character that wasn't from a game, I would want them to pick Goku. And if they're talking about Bubsy, well, I never played a Bubsy game. I just saw the memes that everyone make fun of it. And it looks really bad. And I just don't see how Bubsy has popularity at all. And I think he's only on this list because people like to make fun of him. So, anyway, that's my new revised version of my tier list. Thanks to the creator Tagster G. He has his own Twitter, so you can check it out. And he has his own page. He has this link. I'm going to put a link in so you guys can make this yourselves. So he has this made up for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.